Here's 8 top college admissions interview preparation strategies that you absolutely have to know, including red flags you have to avoid and sample question and answers. A quick introduction. My name is Behrooz Momeni. I'm the CEO and founder here at BMO. I'm joined with our Director of Consulting, Ranza.
Hi, everyone.
If you have a college interview, especially from a top tier school, you have to be completely prepared. You can't go in fumbling on your words, not knowing how to answer questions, looking shy, having a lot of ums and likes, being unsure, being weird of any kind. It's not going to help you out. If you're invited for an interview, a college interview, your absolute priority right now is to completely be prepared and be able to answer any type of question, because it's impossible for you and I or my co-host here to know exactly what question you're going to get. Yes, we're going to give you some examples that are common, but you can never be sure, and you're never going to get the same exact examples all the time, or at least few questions that you've never heard. So your priority should be to learn strategies for different types of questions. When you do that, who cares what the actual question is? Because there's a limited number of types of questions, but there's an unlimited number of actual questions people can make. I hope that's going to make sense for you as we go through this. I want to start going through our strategies first. So Ranza, I'm going to run through the strategies, then we could talk about them. Then I'm going to run through the red flags, we could talk about them. Then we're going to do some sample questions, and then we'll talk about them. So here's our 8 top college interview preparation strategies that you absolutely need to know about. College interview preparation strategy number 1, you have to understand the process and different formats of interviews. College interview preparation strategy number 2, you have to learn to manage your stress, because you're going to get stressed. College interview preparation strategy number 3, you have to learn how to use the primacy effect to your advantage, which we're going to talk about very quickly. Strategy number 4 for college interview preparation is you have to master the art and science of non-verbal communication skills. College interview preparation strategy number 5, you have to learn strategies to answer different types of questions. College interview preparation number 6 is you have to be able to eliminate the ums, likes, the filler words, all those weird stuff. And lastly, number 7 college interview prep strategy is you have to make sure that you end an interview very, very strong and take advantage of the recency effect in psychology. So, Ranza, should we go through these? I mean, understanding the process and different formats of interviews was our number 1 strategy. And maybe you want to just briefly tell us what we mean by that and how that could actually help.
Yeah, there's different types of formats, and you need to get acquainted to those because you need to first understand what's expected of you. Are there time restrictions to reading a prompt? Is this going to be online? Is this going to be in person? What does it entail? A lot of that knowledge is important for the rest of the information that we're going to tackle, because depending on how it's structured, there are differences that you need to keep in mind. But there are, I don't know if we want to go into the different types of interviews at this point, whether
I don't think it makes sense, but it matters for this. But you have to know what's the format of the interview and know it inside and out before you go to an interview. The problem is you're not going to get a lot of notice. So before you even have interview invitations, you need to know all different types and be prepared for them. Like Ranza said, online, offline, panel, traditional, multiple mini interview. They don't do a lot of multiple mini interview, thankfully, for college, but you have to know all these different types of interview formats. And this is going to help you with the next tip, which is learning to manage your stress.
Yep, absolutely.
So Ranza, what's some strategies to managing stress?
Yeah, so we usually like to group these in long-term and in short-term, of course. So some long-term ones, preventative. So right now, if you're already thinking, I'm going to have interviews, I just don't know when it's going to happen, let's start implementing it. It could be something as your, good nutrition, a good diet, sleep, It could be having a good setup schedule so you're not overexerting yourself on certain activity. Ensuring that you have these things in place along with exercise. A lot of this will help to de-stress you, allow you to remain more centered and focused, and not overwhelm you when it comes to your interviews that, again, should you get invited, you'd be prepared for. So there are those long-term effects. There are short-term, such as, if it's going to be an in-person interview, let's get acquainted with the campus. So visiting the campus, knowing where you have to park, if there's going to be a building you have to walk to, knowing this in advance and being familiar with the grounds and knowing, where to park, where do you register, who do you go to, a lot of that is going to alleviate the on the day of stress. So that's what all of these things that we're doing is just like preliminary to on the day of. Now, obviously on the day of, if you've done any sort of time restrained or event, breathing helps, right? So box breathing, where you're counting a few seconds, 4 seconds, holding it for 4, releasing it slowly for 4, helps. A lot of times I find that people tighten up, especially in, the face. So we always suggest holding a pencil or a pen. Obviously, if you could do it in the privacy of a bathroom or in the hallway when you're walking around, holding it horizontally, biting it down, releasing that tension in that jaw, allowing you to be more relaxed to converse or to smile. Standing upright, right? Standing upright not only allows you to breathe properly breathing in your lungs, but it also allows you, if not tricks your mind, to feel that you're confident. Similar to smiling, when you're just smiling, it might sound awkward, but if you're smiling, you could actually trick your brain to think you're happy. So we're just trying to put all these necessary things into play so that when you do enter the room, and we'll go into that shortly, you're as confident and as professional as you could be in that first impression. So those are some long-term, short-term day of.
Now, the next one, as we said, use the primacy effect in psychology during your intros. So a concept in psychology explains how humans remember the first body of any type of interaction, event, information better than anything else happens after that. So how do you do this? It's making sure you walk into an interview room, or if it's a video conference, even if it's recorded by the way and it's not live, making sure you say your hellos, you're smiling, you're pleasant. You say the person's name when they introduce their name, you say their name back to them when you say hello. This by itself is going to give you an advantage because most applicants do not remember the person's name. Most applicants do not remember to say hello. Most applicants are too stressed and too much in their own head. They won't even smile. They just seem like a sketchy person that's nervous as heck, sweaty, and like just doing that is going to put you at an advantage, I would say. Which brings us actually to the next step, which is mastering the non-verbal communication skills. So if you're walking and you look stressed and weird, humans are so good at picking up non-verbal communications. In fact, some people estimate that majority of our communication is non-verbal, just like other animals, right? So if you're going in frowning, being nervous, being weird, guess what? The person on the other side is going to be like weird, frowning, being nervous. If you go in with a smile, they're going to smile. If you say hello, they're going to say hello. If you're comfortable, you're sitting back, in your chair, you're relaxed, they're going to feel relaxed. If you're fidgeting, moving around, just doing this all the time or like doing this, they're going to get nervous. So you need to learn to control your body language. The next one, Ronza, was learning different types of questions and having strategy for different types of questions. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So, a lot of, as we mentioned, interview formats vary, but there are a lot of questions that remain the same in terms of the categories that we have in place. Now, these could vary from test to test, program to program, but the main ones, just to kind of break them down, are typically situational, so scenario-based questions. There's personal-based questions, and then there's policy-based questions. There's sort of like a quirky, sort of personal-based questions. I should say those would be the main categories for you to kind of consider.
This allows you to be prepared for any type of interview question. So if they ask a question that you've never seen, it doesn't matter. You'll figure out, oh, that's that type of a question. So here's a strategy for that. You need to learn that. The next tip is you have to dress appropriately, even if it's a video interview. I've seen people thinking it's a video recorded, it's not live. I'm going to dress whatever I want. No, no, no. Remember, they're still going to judge you based on your cover, right? People will judge you based on the way you're dressed. And they will assume that you have no respect or you're unprepared if you dress messy. It doesn't have to be something like fancy, but first of all, it has to be clean. It has to be presentable. You know, it has to be like something business casual sort of a thing. You don't have to necessarily wear a suit, although we do recommend if you can, you should. And what would you recommend, Ronzo, for female applicants when they have an interview? What should they wear?
You know, typically collared shirts, blazer, skirt, or, you know, suit pants. And I say for any sort of skirt, you know, the trick is usually you want to make sure that you're either wearing appropriate like socks underneath, whether it be leggings, but the height of the skirt is also very important, right? You want to make sure you're being appropriate and office, you know, appropriate, if not professional. Knee length, or, you know, the rule is always if you put your arms at the side of your leg, no shorter than where your hand reaches. That's usually kind of like the rule. But I would say at that point, it's really in how you carry yourself. So you just want to make sure that you're polished, you're appropriate, and you are there for the interview and you're not there for a fashion show. Very important. Perfume, be sensitive. We'd always say, yes, you want to make sure, you know, hygiene is important. But in perfume, and actually most professional places are discouraged because there's sensitivity or allergy. You definitely don't want to, you know, come across disrespectful in that regard, but also it could be overpowering for the person interviewing you. So you definitely want to make sure that you're not overdoing it. Makeup, same thing. People are trying to get to know you. Like, you want to keep it professional, as simple as possible. So try not to make sure, you know, that there's nothing distracting. Right? It's who you are. It's kind of the best professional version of you. This is not prom. This is not a wedding. This is not a social event. It's just the best professional version of yourself. And that's the same thing for the male applicants, right? Whether that be collared shirt, a blazer, a tie, you know, not overdoing it with cologne. Hygiene is important. So wear what you need to wear, but be courteous and conscientious of the individuals interviewing you at that point.
Couple of other tips that we mentioned, we're going to go over those, is eliminating the ums and likes and filler words in your conversation. The best way to do that is to actually record yourself, listen. It's going to sound super awkward, and keep doing that when you're practicing. Over time, you're going to be able to get over that. That's the long-term solution. In the short term, learn to pause. Instead of saying when you're thinking, instead of saying like when you're thinking, the best way is just to have these moments of pause where you're gathering your thoughts. That's more sophisticated and doesn't sound unprofessional. Lastly, but not least, of our final strategy for a good interview prep would be making sure that when you're done with the interview, realizing when it's done, first of all, so that you're not awkward. 2, ending it strong with a good smile, no matter how it went. A good smile, calm, good handshake, if it's possible. Looking in the person's eye, don't look around, don't be weird, don't look down, don't look up, don't look to the side. That's all weird stuff. Don't be weird. Remember, we said a lot of times, don't be weird, because the other person is going to pick up on it and they're going to feel uncomfortable. You have to feel them good as much as they try to feel you good. And making sure you end by saying the person's name as you're saying your goodbye. Thank you so much, Mr. Thank you so much, Ms. Blah, 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 right? If they have mentioned their name and you know their name, or hopefully you now by now remember their names. And this is also important, like the primacy effect. This is the recency effect. People will remember the last part of an interaction more than anything else that happened in between. So if you lost them in the middle, that ending could be the chance that might bring you back. If you did well everywhere else, if you kill that ending, it will almost guarantee you will kill the whole thing. That's how important the ending and the beginning are. Now, let's go through some red flags for interviews. I'm going to quickly run through them and then we'll do some examples. So here are 7 college interview red flags. College interview red flag number 1, poor introduction, lack of hello, handshake, just being weird. Number 2 red flag for college interviews, having a lot of ums, likes, filler words. Number 3 red flag for college interviews, sounding too political, beating around the bush when they ask you questions, don't actually answering the question, or just sounding too arrogant. Number 4 red flag for college interviews is blaming others for past poor performance, especially, past friends, peers in a collaborative environment. You blame others instead of your own shortcoming. Red flag number 5 for college interviews is having unconvincing or dishonest explanation for gaps. You were not studying for a year or 2 and you have no explanation of why. That actually convinces people. Red flag number 6 for college interviews is being arrogant, sounding arrogant, not understanding your own limitation. And when they ask you to rank yourself, for example, you give yourself a very high ranking. They say on a 1 to 10, how good of a communicator you are. You say 10. That's impossible. Come on. You're just a college applicant. There's no way you're 10. The last one in our number of red flags for college interviews, red flag number 7 is having a poor conclusion. So you either don't say your goodbyes, it's poorly executed, you don't do a handshake, you don't remember the person's name, you just run up. Essentially, everything we just told you, doing the opposite turns into a red flag.
Pretty much, yeah.
So any final thoughts about red flags before we go into some sample questions, Ranza?
No, I think you covered everything.
Perfect. So here are some sample college interview questions. I'm going to go over the questions and then we're going to do a sample answer as well. Here's some common ones. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about your family. As a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? Can you describe yourself in 3 words? What would you say are your weaknesses? What would you say are your strengths? How would your friends describe you? What achievements are you most proud of? What are your biggest regrets? Who do you admire the most and why? What is your favorite book and why? What's the last book you read? What was it about? What are you reading right now? How many emails do you have unanswered? How often do you use social media? What's your favorite social media channel? There's a lot of different ones. We're going to put a link to one of our blog posts about college interview question, and there's like 100 sample questions that we could give you to practice with. So we're going to put a link somewhere on this video or podcast, wherever you're watching or listening to this. So watch out for that. But Raza, can we go through one sample question and you give us what's an appropriate answer versus an inappropriate answer?
In this case, what the interviewer might ask is, so what do you like to do in your spare time? Now, weak response would be, well, I love watching football games and I love doing that. I love Netflix.
TikTok.
It's just very vague. So let's just insert the first thing that came in your head. That's probably, and that's it. That would be a weak answer, right? You just like to do this, end it. You don't explain it. You don't really go into depth. You don't discuss if you've learned anything from it. So let's go through one sample question or sample answer to that. That would be definitely prepared. And I say prepared in the sense of you've understood the assignment. You know the strategy to apply, so you know how to make it personable, but you're not robotic. You didn't rehearse this. So I've always been a huge football fan. I'm currently the captain of my local football team, and we play matches every weekend. This sport has made me more persistent and disciplined. It made me understand that hard work pays off and that you need to focus on your goals if you want to succeed. Being the captain also provided me with some valuable leadership skills. As a captain, it is my job to keep my teammates motivated and come up with strategies to improve our overall experience. Last year, I hurt my foot and had to undergo surgery. It was a long recovery and I couldn't play for a couple of months. My teammates visited me every week, kept me updated on how the team was doing, and took me for walks just like my doctor had indicated. My team is like my family to me and have taught me a lot about teamwork, empathy, and friendship. Playing sports on a regular basis is and has always been a big part of my well-being. I don't play football just for fun, but also as a way of clearing my head, socializing, and just staying healthy. So that's me reading an answer. Obviously, you would not be reading an answer in an interview, but just to kind of break down why that response was quite strong. And it wasn't just because it was longer. It was in how the student approached it and the opportunity that they decided to seize to talk about X, Y, and Z skill. And that's what I really want you guys to do when you see an interview. It's like an opportunity to give that individual an insight into who you are that you otherwise would not have that opportunity in just an application. So this individual decided to really talk about their ability to work with their teammates, obviously the strength and the camaraderie of that friendship, but also how it's taught them a lot about discipline. And it seems that an outlet for this individual is, quite frankly, sports, because it allows them to de-stress and it allows them to stay healthy, which seems to be important to them, without them just saying, I like to stay healthy. Healthy is important to me. They actually have explained the how behind it. So it's done quite well. I don't know if you had any other takeaways, Bruce, from that one.
No, this was good because sometimes students, when they get interview questions, they go into one-word answer mode. It's just so weird and rude, and it shows you don't have communication skills, you don't have maturity of thought, you don't know what you're talking about, you didn't really think to answer. In fact, it sounds disrespectful a little bit.
Yeah.
So gather your thoughts, think about the strategies. Hopefully you've done lots of mock interviews, do lots of realistic mock interviews, and get feedback from somebody that can actually help you out. If you've done a lot of this and listened to the red flags and the strategy we gave you, a major part of that is mock interviews. That's essentially what's going to get you be better if you're open to the feedback of the person that's helping you out. Hopefully you're going to find somebody that can actually help you out with that process. But I think that was it. Any final thoughts, Ranza?
No, I mean, the only other thing that you've seen it woven into everything we've said is just personalize it. So just be sincere to who you are. It comes across very obviously when you're not being sincere or when you're playing a character in an interview, which, believe it or not, some people tend to do. And I think the most authentic interactions is when someone literally is sincere to who they are. What we need to work on after that is just the strategy and everything else we talked about, and putting that all together is what's going to make a really, really compelling interview.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everyone for watching. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and share it with a friend. Maybe they'll enjoy it as well. Subscribe on whatever social media channel you're watching this, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.